Welcome to Crying Out Cloud, the podcast that will make you laugh, cry, and reconsider all of your cloud security fears. It's Eden and Amitai. We're back. And today for our season finale, we have our producer and our friend and our very brilliant leader, Alon Schindel.
Hello. Woo. Happy to be here again.
Yes. Alon serves as the Vice President of AI and Threat Research at Wiz. He built the Threat Research Group up from its incubation to the juggernaut it is today. Initiated and contributed to multiple community projects like the Cloud Vulnerability Database and the Cloud Threat Landscape Project. He was a Senior Security Program Manager at Microsoft prior to joining Wiz, and he has a master's in computational neuroscience. And lucky for us, he is a producer of this podcast and joining us today.
So happy to be here. It's my fourth time, maybe fifth time. But
if you count our live episodes.
All the live episodes, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do a segment of Cloud Confessions, even though we've already gotten to know you on the pod, but some fun new questions. Okay, what is a master's in computational neuroscience? What do you learn?
It's actually a great. It's a very timely question because when I studied my master's in neuroscience was 2018, and back then what we tried to do is to see how we can learn from how the neural networks in the brain work, how we can improve the artificial neural networks. And artificial neural networks are actually the base of LLMs. I mean, it's one of the versions of LLMs, of the large language models that are at the base of the modern practical AI today. And back then, I think it was a really interesting time because it was time when transformers were invented, the first time that the famous article was published by Google. And I feel like I was really lucky to get to know AI before the hype and like kind of to get the opportunity to learn how the artificial neural networks work and how we try to improve them based on what we know from the brain and how the brain works. The TLDR is that the brain, we don't really know how the brain works. It's still super complex. It's actually, I was frustrated because you expect to learn, okay, I'll know all the secrets of the brain. I'll help understand how the brain works. We still have so many questions. Maybe AI and LLMs can help us now better understand the brain. And I was also, I think I had the opportunity to learn about a small nonprofit back in 2018 that was named OpenAI. And I think I was really excited about it. I heard about them and I thought, wow, that's a really, yeah, of course, I couldn't know what that's
like you saw some like indie band when they were performing in their mom's garage.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because like if you look at that degree and how you wouldn't have known you were going to get to Wiz and what was going to come next with OpenAI, but it's like these stepping stones that shape you to be ready for this role. Would you say there are other key moments in your path in your life that led you here?
So that maybe my first key moment is going to kindergarten with Yaniv Shaked, one of the first engineers in Wiz. Yaniv joined Wiz when it started, and this is actually how I got to Wiz.
You were planning it way back then.
Yeah. So going to kindergarten with Yaniv, I think, was really influential. And I think a part of that maybe Amitai and I, we worked together in a different place before joining Wiz, and I think the role that both of us did back then was also really influential. It was in the cyber domain, not related to AI or ML or anything. And I think that the work back then was really good, more with analyzing the world, trying to understand and tackle real hard problems. It taught me to, I think, to never give up and also really expect for really high standards. I mean, to know how high standards can look like.
So as I'm sure you know, as a longtime listener, this podcast holds a special place in its heart for cats. And our listeners want to know, what is your cat's name? What's her backstory? And we've also heard rumors that you might be getting another cat. So any ideas for their name?
Yeah, so my cat's name is Shula. and she's great. She's almost 2 years old, very, very cute. And actually, we want to get the new cat. Is not for me, it's for her. I think that she also deserves to have a cat. We don't have a name yet, so I think if our listeners have any, yeah.
Should do a poll.
There's no, it's going to be an orange cat, but still no name. So if you have any names, please
shout out.
Yeah.
So Amitai and I were thinking about your meme pack and what it would contain. So we're gonna list what we think is there, and then you tell us what's missing in the meme pack.
Okay.
We've got a Kith jacket. We've got your passport, because you're always traveling. We've got a Grogu keychain. We have a vintage signed Hapoel jersey. That's his team. Amitai added your lunch because you probably haven't eaten yet. And F1 playing on the TV in the background.
And the cat, no?
Oh, and the cat.
Yeah.
We forgot the cat.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do something we've never done. The Crying Out Loud Golden Tier Awards. We're going to go through the winners of 2026.
Winners and perhaps losers.
Oh, perhaps losers.
No
No,
losers.
we'll keep it positive.
only
Keep it
Yes,
positive.
yeah,
All right.
no losers.
All right.
Okay, favorite vulnerability of the year.
Oh, it's really hard. No, I guess you can't react to Shell. I mean, I think you can beat it. It was a kind of, like you have the Academy Awards, and you have the movies that are released just before the deadline. So I think that's it. That's the Marty Supreme, I guess, of the vulnerabilities this year. Yeah.
Solid.
And you have to be like the Oscar panel needs to watch all the movies, so you need to be exploited by all the vulnerabilities in order to experience them. All right. Most surprising thing that happened this year?
I won't surprise you, I think. I have two things. So one is Shai Hulud, I think, and we'll talk about later, but I think it was, we've never seen any attack like that. And I think that we're in this field for a long time. We have never seen a worm that works like that, and such a wide spread attack on or actually it was more than one. It's two, or even two major attacks. Never happened to me, at least since I joined Wiz, that there was some kind of this novel attack that we are not even sure what are we seeing. I think I remember it's like having all these discussions, and even in the conference, it was a very kind of a confusing experience. I think the other part of the answer is what we see from the new AI models. So just I think around the end of the year, it's also something relatively new. We saw that AI models became there was a huge leap in their cyber capabilities, coding capabilities, but cyber capabilities as well. And I think that we're now starting to see real impact. I think up until now it was more kind of hype and expectations to see where AI can do better. We'll probably talk about it more later, but I think that's probably the other surprise that we saw this leap. And I think one of the things that I like about AI is that these changes are not continuous. I mean, you have, in one day, you have a new model. It happened to us also, I remember 2 years ago when Claude 3.5 was released. We had a feature, we tried to improve it, we didn't feel like it's working well, and it was also really expensive. And then in one day, the feature was ready. And I think this is exactly what we're seeing now, but with other cyber capabilities. And that's really amazing. We'll discuss it later.
Top collab of the year, like a collaboration between us and another organization, or between many other two organizations that you've seen working together and we're happy about. Who joined forces this year, and the end result ended up being fun.
Yeah, we are still not seeing many attacks. I mean, we see many stories, but not real significant attacks impacted by or that use LLMs. And we saw this Anthropic research that tried to explain how Chinese threat actors use LLMs to attack. So that was, I think, interesting. Maybe for us, we are working now with a startup that is called Irregular, and what they are trying to do is to understand the limits of LLMs and AI capabilities. So I think that's something that I'm excited. There's still no products there. And I think another fun collaboration was with Lovable, like Wiz and Lovable. We try to understand what are the risks in vibe-coded apps. And I think what was really interesting about it, at first, it had really impact. I mean, it was not just a research, really helped them improve their prompts and find systemic issues that are a result of like that you have the same prompts that generate the code. I mean, they were amazing. I think you can really tell that they care about security. Igor, their CISO was collaborative. He was, they were involved in every step, and they made the changes. Like as soon as we found like a potential issue, they just changed everything. They published their guide. So I think that's the like true meaning of collaboration and the true reason for why we do these partnerships. I mean, we want to improve. For us, like at Wiz, we want the cloud, we want AI, we want everyone to be more secure. I think that seeing security being prioritized so high was encouraging, I guess, experience for us.
You're giving a sneak peek to the next season.
Yeah.
Our first guest. Wink, wink. Okay, let's pivot to real questions. As an homage to our slogan, what events over the past year made you reconsider your cloud security fears, and why?
What we are seeing now with AI is something that changes, I think, my strategies. Not only like in general, how we work, even here at Wiz, the research team. I think that we're seeing so many new opportunities with LLMs, I'm sure, and that attackers also say that. But I think what we're trying to do is to leverage all the information and context that we have and attackers don't. Since like here, like when we build our products at Wiz, we do have more information. Attackers can usually see only what's like on the outside, what's exposed or very limited. They have a very limited understanding of the environment that they are targeting. But I think that the fact that that defenders have more context and more information about the environment, more like, we analyze the environment, we can see what's really happening inside it, makes the use of AI by security vendors more effective, or at least this is how it should be. I mean, I think that security vendors should know that they shouldn't only just kind of trust the LLMs. I mean, you should do a lot of work, and you should have a very efficient pipeline that makes sure that you can use LLM. It's just the kind of the last part in the chain. And this is why, by the way, I'm optimistic for the chances of security teams to use AI more efficiently than an attacker. I think defenders have more opportunities to use AI better.
So you have an interesting position at Wiz in both leading the research organization and being a source of knowledge for many of our customers and many other teams that we work with really across the entire industry. So I think a lot of that has to do with preparing for the unexpected, like being in a position to deal with whatever comes next, wherever it might come from. So what do you expect security practitioners will need to be spending more time on in the coming year?
I think the first maybe thing to do, and this is what we're trying to also do here internally, is to learn how to use Claude Code or other AI products. When there is something unexpected, you can react faster with AI and actually do something that maybe you couldn't have done before. And I think the best example for that is Rami McCarthy is a principal researcher and one of the team leads here at Wiz. During the NX supply chain attack, and Rami just vibe coded like in 5 minutes a tool that scraped all these secrets. I mean, using the information that we sourced, we were able to notify dozens of organizations, many Fortune 100 organizations. We were able to notify them and to let them know that there are secrets and really know information about which secret is it, which data is now is at risk, just with this really 5 minutes of vibe coding. And I want people to be prepared. I don't want them to use Claude Code for the first time when an incident happens. I want them to understand how you can use it for data analysis, generating scripts, and I think these are the use cases that are super relevant for security teams.
It's interesting though, because your team in general, like take away the AI tools, is insanely fast, whether it's XeUtils, React to Shell. Like for those incidents, you guys had coverage within an hour and a blog post within another hour. And obviously AI is a tool to accomplishing that, but can you kind of take us behind the scenes about, there's also like an operational efficiency in how you guys work. How do you do it?
I think what we're trying to do is really to first focus on impact. I mean, and there is a uncertainty when something happens, and like for us, the first priority is always what will make the most impact on our customers, what will make the most impact on the industry, and trying to prioritize in a more like a greedy algorithm. I think that that if we know that we need to release the in-product advisory and detection, that would be the first task, and being very, I guess, like brutal prioritization in these cases. The other is to have the different team members with different expertise. When you try to protect a cloud environment today, there are so many different technologies, so many different types of attacks, and you need to have experts in all these domains that can kind of lead the way. And maybe the last one is communication. I think that's probably what makes I don't know if it's trivial or not, but I think like being able to communicate fast and accurate during these incidents is critical. Everyone needs to know what happens next. You also have to communicate what is the prioritization, set deadlines, and like be really, really fast to make sure that everyone knows what they should do, what other people are doing, and kind of these things. We do most of it over Slack, by the way. It's not because we have people all around the world, and yeah.
Another thing you guys do though is like you inform a lot of the product, right? So it's interesting, like your choices as a research team have not just an effect on what you're publishing, but also internally how we prioritize and operate. So can you kind of talk about how that informs like which problems you choose to solve or what you choose to take on?
We are trying, even though we are research, and I think in many organizations, research team is more theoretical or like doing some like that's not really connected to the product. I think what we're trying to do is to work very closely with the product team. First is to build the trust. I think there's like this synergy is super important. For us, it's important to know what are the product capabilities, and on the other way, we want to help them understand what threats are out there. We want the product team, that's I think major part with like during of our work when there are no incidents is to kind of draw the threat landscape and kind of deriving the practical advice to the product team and what they should focus on, whether it's a supply chain in GitHub and maybe scanning private GitHub repos, because we see that many attacks start from secrets that are leaked to employees' private repos. Trying to understand what's real and trying to make sure that whenever there's a product discussion, and if you are not a security vendor, it's still relevant because it's not the product discussion, it's the product security discussion. You have to make sure that it's tied to it's a threat-driven discussion, and we don't talk about only theoretical attacks. I think with AI, it's also super relevant because in AI today, we see some attacks, we don't see many, and I think this is what we're trying to do is to direct the product to help with that or that, and not necessarily just talk about theoretical attacks.
So it makes it a lot more effective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There sometimes can be a bit of noise that we need to help our customers deal with. Like, a new vulnerability comes out and people say, oh, this is the worst thing that happened in the world. I mean, to kind of help them put it into perspective.
Or the overhype of the product team of certain incidents.
Also.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you see happening sort of in the industry as a whole or in other research teams and other companies? Like everybody has their own philosophy, but what things do you sometimes see other companies doing and think we shouldn't do that? Like we should stay away from that. That might be problematic. Wish it happened less.
Like for me, it's like major part of what we do, and I think it's also something that I'm trying to or I'm telling the team to do is always try to measure the impact of what we're doing. And I think that for me, when there's an incident, we are trying to evaluate. I think one of the first tasks is to see what is the impact on customer, how many customers are impacted. How severe this issue is. I mean, when we saw React to Shell, we knew immediately that the exploit it's easy to exploit, and we'll see even before exploitation started, even before there was a public exploit, we knew that it's going to come, and this is why we flagged it as a super critical incident. In other cases, we're trying to balance it, and even when there's a vulnerability that is critical, whether it can actually be exploited, whether you have any companies who use this product, and this is how we're trying to balance it. And I think we're also doing a kind of analysis, like a post-mortem analysis, and trying to see what was the impact.
Like the way you're describing it, it's largely you against yourself, you and the last vulnerability, and you and your team kind of just leveling up. And I think that it's a testament to the fact of two things. One, that this industry of research is still so much evolving. You have to almost look outwards, outside of cybersecurity, for inspiration on how to grow a team, how to evolve.
Actually, one inspiring moment was so during the government shutdown, there were a few days where you had some problems in the States with the air traffic control.
I remember.
And then Flightly, it's an app that kind of monitor flight changes and delays and everything. And they published on their Twitter account, X account, they published kind of updates for what's happening in general. And I think for me it was a really cool moment to see something that is really similar to what we're trying to do in cybersecurity. Whenever there's a crisis, we're trying to communicate, clearly what's actually happening and to see beyond the hype. And then I saw it was, almost the same case, but in a different industry. So I think that's actually was an inspiring moment to see. And I know we have many people here who like this app, Flightly. So it was good to see how a vendor, regardless of the industry, can build their credibility using these incidents.
And what's cool is also, I get to see it because I know your team. You have really cool people on your team. They have really dynamic interests and passions that have nothing to do with what you do for work. I'm curious how you bring in those people and what you're looking for when you choose to bring them on, because obviously they have their specialty in vulnerabilities or this or that, but then they also have this other part of their character which contributes to them being really good at their work. So how do you kind of think about who you're bringing on?
One of the things that during the hiring process that I'm trying to find is whether someone has, I think if someone has a hobby or a specific topic that they're interested in and they really know how to deep dive and kind of get to the depth of this topic, and doesn't matter if it's Taylor Swift or Pans. We have someone who's an expert.
He has a lot of Swiftie fans on his team.
Yeah, and about if you have metal pans or whether it's music, means that they have the skill and ability to also to apply it in other domains. And if you are really passionate about one thing, it means that you can be passionate about other things. You can also apply it to cybersecurity, and I think that we saw, it's working overall well, I guess, for us.
Think so.
That's one thing. The other thing is team chemistry. I think it's always important when you work in a high-pressure environments. You need people who can get along together, and the skill of that are people you want to hang out with.
They know how to vibe, and they know how to vibe code together.
Amazing. Well, I think hearing about your team and your philosophy and how you kind of put together shows in the really impactful output of what your team does. So thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
2026 is going to be a phenomenal year. And we're excited to see what else your team comes up with.
I wish we don't have work. We can just say, that's the...
Everything's secure.
Yeah, everything is secure. No vulnerabilities, no security issues.
I think you have job security. I think you're good. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe and share a link to the podcast, but not your cloud keys. And as always, if your cloud security strategy is making you cry, don't worry, just cry out cloud.